But we begin tonight with the crisis in Syria growing more intense with each passing hour. Tonight, a possible U.S. military response is coming in focus, but there are still questions. What will it include? Will U.S. troops be heading to the country? And just how long will it last? Good evening, everyone. I'm Serena Fazan. Linda is off tonight.
And I'm Jameson Euler in the Breaking News Center, where we are tracking new details quickly coming out about the Syrian government's alleged use of chemical weapons on its own people. Just minutes ago, opposition leaders claiming there's been another attack, this one on high school students. This afternoon, Secretary of State John Kerry explaining exactly what the U.S. knows about that first attack, including the staggering death toll.
At least 1,429 Syrians were killed in this attack, including at least 426 children.
Kerry also says that even the first responders who tried to save these people became victims themselves. Our Jacqueline Ingles is live outside of MacDill Air Force Base as we get closer to a decision on possible U.S. military action. Jacqueline?
It's right behind these gates here that the war on terrorism is run. Now, as of right now, there have been no decisions on the president's part, but just a few hours ago, he did confirm that it was indeed a chemical attack that killed 1,000 people in Syria, and that number including both women and children. Now, he said he's adamant that the world needs to take a stand in this situation because he called it an outrage against innocence. And these chemical weapons, he fears, could be used against us and our allies, particularly Israel. Now, again, no decisions yet on the part of the president, but what we do know at this time is that whatever he chooses will not involve sending in troops.
In no event are we considering any kind of military action that would involve boots on the ground, that would involve a long-term campaign, but we are looking at the possibility of a limited, narrow act.
When Secretary of State John Kerry spoke earlier, he insisted that this situation differs greatly from Iraq and wanted to remind the American public that the intelligence community has reviewed and re-reviewed its information and are more than mindful of the experience in Iraq. Live outside of MacDill Air Force Base, Jacqueline Ingles, ABC Action News.
Jacqueline, thank you. And now former President George W. Bush is weighing in on the Syrian situation, saying that President Obama, quote, has to make a tough decision on whether to order a military strike. And it turns out Americans are split on the issues. Here are some of the numbers from a new poll just out. 50% of Americans say they oppose military action, but at the same time, 50% say they approve of just launching missiles at Syria. Syrians who live here in Tampa Bay fall on both sides of the debate, but they are all worried about family and friends caught in the middle. Our Allison Morrow is going in depth, showing how the escalating conflicts changing their lives, even thousands of miles away from Damascus.
I choose to put myself at risk because I think that there is a cause that's more important than me.
And that cause for Noor Shakfeh is more important than ever as violence escalates in Syria with more than 100,000 dead. The USF student has vivid memories of a few months ago when she took a humanitarian trip to deliver supplies to refugees still fighting to live.
There are 20,000 child amputees. Children haven't been to school in 3 years. They don't have access to clean water.
After her return to Tampa, U.S. Special Operations Command contacted Shakfeh and her younger brother. She says SOCOM wanted information about what they saw in Syria. Wary of their intention, she asked for questions in writing, and she says they refused and never called her again. Food is one tradition Faisal Hussein brought with him to St. Petersburg from his home in Syria. Another tradition, a commitment to his family. Half of them now refugees fleeing for safety. Their daily struggle to live keeps Hussein awake most nights, especially amid word of chemical weapons.
They will never stop. If there's anybody, a human being, believe those people they're going to stop killing, absolutely not.
Both Hussein and Shakfeh support an attack on President Bashar al-Assad's forces. Just like those who protested intervention in downtown Tampa Thursday night, they are worried about the human toll.
But there's no other choice. If they do this now, they save life later.
Whatever the U.S. decides, Shakfeh says she will continue to intervene, whether SOCOM contacts her again, even if the violence gets worse.
I'm helping people who are starving and who need help, and that's not a crime.
Now, Noor Shakfeh does plan to return to Syria in December. She cites 1 million child refugees, 6 million displaced altogether, all of whom she says desperately need help regardless of one's opinion on military intervention. Serena.
All right, thank you so much, Allison. And we have in-depth coverage of the crisis in Syria on abcactionnews.com and on our free mobile app. If you missed it today, you can watch a replay of President Obama's remarks and Secretary of State John Kerry's speech. We've also posted the full text of Kerry's speech online.